So like, if I were to go to you, right, and every day I seen you, I just slap fire from your ass. Fly out. Fly out. Seen you today too. Today what? Friday. Today Friday, Black Friday. I'm like, hey, good morning. Fly out. Slap. I'm like, damn, that shit hurt. Don't fucking slap me no more. But I forgive you. Like, okay. Okay, cool. Day goes on. It's nighttime, I'm about to go to sleep. All right, good night. Fire. Slap shit out your ass again. I'm like, damn. That shit hurt. Told you not to slap me. I don't like that shit. But I forgive you. How many times do I gotta slap you before you go, you know what, this forgiveness shit, it's fucking me up. Cause I keep getting my ass slapped.
So it seems like as a people, we
ain't talking about as a people. We ain't talking about as a people. You swapping this shit up. You ain't got nothing to do with no as no people.
That's what came in my head, but okay, fuck it.
I don't know where you going with it, but it show, hey.
I was just looking at it on the macro, but okay.
No, we ain't talking about no macro. We talking about a specific situation. If I were to slap you every day, just because I feel like.
Many days will not pass.
All right, without the jokes, let's have a serious conversation so we can focus. Please.
I am focused.
So look, the point. What did I say the topic of the video was?
Forgiveness versus unhealthy boundaries.
Okay, so let's stay on that topic. Without the jokes and all the other shit.
I didn't make any jokes.
Okay. So there's a difference between practicing forgiveness in Matthew 6 and having unhealthy boundaries. If you got unhealthy boundaries, you can't even forgive yourself. You ain't got no healthy boundaries. You just keep putting yourself in the same situation to keep getting hurt. So we have to understand the difference between the two. Because, yeah, you can practice forgiveness. I think that's, is that part of the turning the other cheek shit, forgiveness? Or is that not what it means? I don't even know. I be asking people that shit that they don't know how. I sure don't know either. The fuck is the turning the other cheek? I don't know. Yeah, I'm right with you on that.
Like you. I was like, wait, is it? Like,
I don't know either. I'm right there with you. I don't have a clue. I don't have a clue. But yeah, like, that's where the thin line is, I say, in my opinion. Practicing forgiveness versus having unhealthy boundaries. Like some people, for example, I used to say this to my ex-girlfriend in the States. I was like, you're not physically abusive, but you're emotionally abusive. So you're not putting your hands on me, but you're doing all this mind games, using all this deception, playing all this, using your words to try to say this and say that, being deceitful. So that's how you're being abusive. You're just not being physical with it. So it's still abuse. It's still fucked up. You see? So it's like, I kind of had to be in a relationship of forgiveness in that state. But eventually, as I told you before, when I finally kicked the ass out the house, I was like, I don't want to do this shit. I don't want you leaving all this other stuff, but the only way I'm gonna have peace of mind is get her the fuck out. Cause she was gonna keep doing whatever and keep being sneaky and keep being malicious, regardless of how I felt. So yeah, I could practice forgiveness, but at a certain point, I had unhealthy boundaries. Cause I was keep putting myself in the same situation to keep getting hurt. That's unhealthy boundaries. So where do we draw the line, man?
Whatever line you make. Whatever line you make.
No, I'm saying where do you draw it? Like for example, if you talk, go ahead.
I feel like, okay, if somebody does something and you let them know, like, hey, like, that's a boundary, don't do that. Okay, there goes your boundary.
Mm-hmm.
If they break it, you can be like, have another conversation. You might be like, look, didn't we talk about this? Didn't we say this is a boundary? Yeah, you crossing it. So now you know I feel some type of way, right? Okay, maybe I'll forgive you this time, but like the third time, like, no. So I guess you get to pick how quick you want to be like, no, I'm not forgiving this because we already talked about this. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's what I was saying. I thought about it last night.
Like, well, fuck you, I ain't forgiving your ass. 'Cause I already let you know this is a boundary and you keep crossing this shit. So obviously you don't care.
And it's a lack of self-love. It's a lack of respect. It's a lack of a whole lot. You know? It's a lack of a whole
how
lot.
quick do you like? What it's like? How quick do you I don't know if punish is the right word, but
This is called discernment.
how quick?
It's how quick do you discern? DISCERN. That means to establish boundaries. Same thing with how quick.
Oh no, you should establish them immediately.
Yeah, and it's the same. It's a synonym for tact. TACT. Tact.
Yeah, you should do that immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Because if somebody doesn't know that's your boundary, you can't get upset that they're doing something that you feel like is a boundary. How are they supposed to know if you don't tell them?
Okay.
They're not.
We're talking. Well, you're right. I'm saying, what we're talking about is when you do tell them.
Right. So when you do tell them, I think it should automatically. So like you have the conversation. How many times do you have the same conversation?
So let's take it back to Matthew 6.
Mm-hmm.
Matthew 6 said you got to forgive your trespasses that they trespass against you.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point is that forgiveness a lack of self-love, a lack of and self-hate? At what point is it like, damn, the Bible is saying this, but I keep getting hurt. It's saying this, but I keep getting hurt. Where do you draw the line? That's what I'm asking. Because you say, oh, well, it'll be wrong, because according to the Bible, according to Matthew 6, it'd be wrong for you not to forgive the person for trespassing against you. But somehow, it's like also not wrong for you to keep putting yourself in the same situation.
And then it's like, okay, what's in my head is, can you have a boundary and be like, look, you're disrespecting my boundaries. Go over there, but I there's no grudge though. Can you like respect your own boundary but not have a grudge on that person for breaking your boundary?
I don't think that's possible.
Not to hold a grudge?
No, like yeah, I don't think it's possible. I don't think it's possible for me. So I don't think it's possible. Typically, if you don't like somebody, it's probably because they did something to violate your boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
right? So until you actually start being around them again or engaging with them again, you probably still got a grudge with them. Like they did what they did to cross the boundaries, to do this, to do that, and there's still feelings there. Because if there wasn't some kind of grudge, we could pull up the word grudge. That's a good one. We could pull up the word grudge. Because if there wasn't a grudge, we would just be okay with being around that person again or that thing again. And for example, we can say, all right, let's set the boundary for the police, and they cross them every time. Mm-hmm. Every time. Now we can do the humanity thing. You have the people, you got the police, and crossing boundaries. So you can practice forgiveness. But at what point is it abuse? You see? At a certain point, not at what point. At a certain point, it's abuse. It's emotional abuse, psychological abuse, physical abuse, all of that. And it's saying, and Matthew 6 would be saying, yeah, that's cool, just let them do it.
See, nope. I don't know, maybe I'm just not on that level, but that's not happening over here.
No, it's not happening. It's not supposed to. It's because it's unhealthy.
And see, like, that's why even when I love Christianity and I would read those scriptures again, talking about you get slapped, turn your other cheek and get slapped again, like, come on, fam. What do you mean? No.
I think
but maybe that character Jesus got another level of heart chakra, that shit, or love that I don't see
Jesus was
myself having.
Well, when you look at the story of Jesus, when we look at the story of Jesus, Jesus was speaking out against a lot of people, so he made a lot of people mad. So that's why he was getting the pushback. Mm-hmm. It wasn't because he was just being his good person and there were just certain evil ones that attacked him. No, he was saying things to incite anger. He was saying things like that. So it kind of makes sense. He's kind of getting it back in return.
Yeah.
Like even with Eligio, the Nature Boy, whatever he call himself, what he going through is what he been saying, what he been doing. So he saying, all right, I got persecuted, but look at the whole journey of what he was doing. Look at what he was saying. Look at what was happening, especially the last few months. They slapping each other, he's slapping people, doing all kinds of crazy shit. Oh, now they persecuting me. But he did it to himself. So it's different from the story in the Bible. It's different from the story in the Bible because he actually did a whole bunch of shit that was unnecessary for attention and all the other shit. In my eyes, for attention and a whole lot of other shit. And there was no respecting of boundaries.
Yeah, like I think it's okay to have boundaries.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. It's okay to practice forgiveness, and it's okay to have boundaries. Well, you know, we can't. If you're forgiven to the point to where you keep getting hurt. Yeah, if you're forgiven to the point to where you keep getting hurt, that at that point you just haven't established boundaries. They're just not healthy. They're not healthy boundaries. So you're gonna put yourself in a situation that's abusive.
Yeah.
It's psychologically abusive and emotionally abusive without that establishment of boundaries.
And even physical abuse.
And even physical abuse.
Like, yeah, it's okay if you just hit physical. Like, no, it's not okay to hit me. Like, what the heck?
Do you think the domestic discipline was a part of your Saturn and Pisces? Because Saturn is about limitations. So if Saturn is in a water sign, I would assume that there would be lack of boundaries.
Yeah, that's actually something I need to practice, having boundaries.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So if you need to practice having boundaries, that also means you need to practice respecting other people's boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Because it goes both ways.
Right.
Astrology. This still that domestic discipline shit it's always gonna affect me mentally because I never heard anything like that.
I mean, yeah, even when it comes to like the religious world, like that's not like a taboo topic necessarily. Like
What?
about husbands disciplining their wives. I've seen it in Christianity. I've seen it in with my relationship with the Hebrew Israelite. I've heard about it in Islam.
So were there other men in the Hebrew Israelite community that were practicing domestic discipline, or was it just you?
I wasn't in. When I was with my husband, we weren't in a community.
Oh, you weren't in a community at the time.
No.
But have you seen or heard of other men disciplining their wives or significant others?
Well, you know how like they'll be on the street corners yelling scriptures at people?
Yeah.
I've heard like one group.
This is so goofy,
I've heard groups talking about that. Like it's okay. So I remember when I got on Bigo, his name is Yisrael, like he had made it a point to like say that that's not true and that's not right and all this and that. But like there's men who will bring up some scriptures talking about it's okay.
Probably because they lack discipline themselves. Typically, if you're trying to do other people, they lack themselves. It's like the control thing. People who want to control others lack self-control. They can't control themselves, so they want to do it to everybody else. Subjective. That's always huh? But that's always going to be something I think about.
So when you're trying to do something to somebody else, that means you lack it yourself? Like how you just said, if you're trying to control somebody, that means you lack self-control.
Correct.
So like what are other examples of somebody's doing...
If you're not good at establishing, how to say? I just said, so your Saturn, if Saturn is in a water sign, Saturn in Pisces, that means you're not good at establishing boundaries, which also means that you're not good at respecting other people's boundaries. Because Saturn is about limitations and structure and order and skeletal system.
So that would mean I have the that I can be liable to be in a abusive relationship, either
Correct.
being the one getting abused or being the one abusing.
Both.
Yeah, I get. Yeah, I'm saying like oh.
No, you said either. I said no, both.
Oh, it's both.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I heard you talking to Nine Ether, and he said his girlfriend was a narcissist, and you was like, well, that means you're a narcissist.
Correct.
And I remember towards the end of my relationship with him, I started saying like, dang, he a narcissist. So I was saying I'm a narcissist.
Mm-hmm. The interesting thing about narcissism is that it has a negative connotation, and it kind of shouldn't. Now, maybe this is my opinion, but narcissist. I don't know if you are familiar with the story. Maybe I got to pull it up in the Bible or something like that. But basically, the Narcissus fell in love with his reflection. Like that was his curse. He fell in love with his reflection. He looked at a flower, seeing how beautiful it was, and fell in love with his reflection. But like, I think people use narcissism as a synonym for like arrogance, and I don't think that's right. Like, I may be the only person in the world like that, but I don't think that's just right at all. Because if you love your reflection, you love what you see, that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to mistreat somebody else. Especially if you're looking at the world as your reflection, it doesn't mean you're finna mistreat yourself if you love yourself.
Right, because that's the thing. If you're a narcissist, and it means that you love yourself to this high degree, and you look at everybody as yourself, then of course you wouldn't even abuse those other people, because you would look at them as yourself.
Correct.
Because usually when people talk about narcissism, they're also talking about abuse.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that those are synonyms.
And if you're an arrogant person, does that necessarily mean you're gonna abuse somebody?
Arrogant, in a sense. I mean, you might not, as arrogant. Usually with arrogance, there's a putting a person down to lift oneself up.
Oh.
It might not necessarily be abuse, but it's like, oh, look at that person over there. They're so beneath me, and I'm so up here.
Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Narcissus, noun, is a type of bulbous flowering plant from 1540s. A plant name, not the modern narcissus, is possibly a type of iris or lily. Associated with Greek narc, numbness, see narcotic, because of the sedative effect of the alkaloids in the plant. But Beeks considers this folk etymology and writes that the suffix clearly points to a pre-Greek word. Let me see. And we know narcotics. All right, put you to sleep, make you numb, all that other shit. So let's go narcissist. Okay, narcissist says a person infected with narcissism. Narcissism, noun, 1905, coined in 1899. It says the name of a beautiful youth in mythology who fell in love with his own reflection in a spring and was turned to the flower Narcissus. Narcissus himself, as a figure of self-love, is attested by 1767. So now tell me, what the fuck of that sounds like I'm hurting? Like, all right, if you say you're a narcissist or I'm a narcissist, that means I'm hurting other people. No, that shit say self-love. Fell in love with his reflection in the spring. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's a supporting phrase here that says, but already Krishna, enamored of himself, had resolved to experience lust for his own self. He manifested his own nature in the cowherd girls and enjoyed them. Sometimes erroneously as narcissism. So yeah, narcissistic. You put your eyeball on it too if you want. What is it? Narcissistic adjective marked by excessive self-love. But how it's used, narcissist people, they do this and they treat people like this and they do.
Wow, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Marked by excessive self-love.
I would quickly say I'm a narcissist. I love the fuck out of myself, yo. I really do. Period. That doesn't mean I'm going around hurting other people. I would rather be by myself and love myself than to go try to hurt other people and do all this other shit. It's just not even fucking worth it. But I got a lot of love for myself. And I've said before, in order to love yourself, you actually have to hate yourself first. You got to understand the other extreme and not be appreciative of yourself, and not be grateful and see all the dark stuff and acknowledge all of that shit so you can get to the other extreme. So in order for me to transform and go through my transformation, I had to be very unhappy with what I seen in the mirror. So one of the things I would teach about often with the group was not everybody likes what they see in the mirror. You should love what you see in the mirror. Michael Jackson said, hey, I'm asking the man in the mirror to change his ways. Sound like narcissism to me. Can't blame it on him. He said, if you want to make a world a better place, you look at yourself and make a change. That's what Michael Jackson said. Because if you hate yourself, you damn sure gonna hate everybody else. If you love yourself, you damn sure gonna love everybody else. So is narcissism really that bad? No. But guess what? We use it. Excuse me. It's used. Go ahead.
It's used incorrectly.
It's used incorrectly and what's called connotatively instead of denotatively. Denotatively is when we use the exact definition of the word. And we how do I say it? We use the word according to how it was created.
Okay.
At its inception. So like this whole like smart thing and nice thing, that's called connotated. Oh, when somebody's being polite, I call them nice, which is foolish or ignorant. That's connotated. Because it really means you're foolish, so I shouldn't be calling them nice. When I call somebody smart, that's connotated. Unless they're being aggravating or getting on my nerves, you see? Because smart actually means pain of the mind, specifically. And it means pain. So anytime you hurt yourself, people, you can even see a movie or cartoon, somebody will hurt themselves and be like, ouch, that's smarts.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen those cartoons.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, man, that's smarts.
Or how about when somebody's getting irritated with somebody and they'll say, you smart ass?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Because when you get irritated, smart means pain of the mind. It getting on your nerves.
Yeah.
So that's the one time. Hey, that was fire. That was fire. That was fire. You caught that. That's the one time when people be using it right. Smart ass. It's when somebody that's getting on your nerve. Mm-hmm. But yeah. People, you see all these false, I can call them false prophets. But see these people talking about narcissism, they got all these traits of the narcissist and all of this and all of that. It be bullshit.
Like
it be bullshit the whole time.
All this stuff of like a narcissist is gonna do this. This is how the narcissist is gonna try to control you. This is how I used to watch those videos.
I did too.
Oh,
I would be like, I see what they're saying, but they gotta switch the word narcissist because that's not the right word.
Right.
I understand the actions, but the word is wrong. If they would have said arrogant, let's see. Yeah, if they would have said arrogant, it would have been different.
And then like one thing I used to hear is like they always blame you, right? But it's like, dang, now with this different perspective, it's like, well, they're just reminding you that you're God and you got to take accountability and it is all your fault because it's just you. That's what
Wait, say that again?
I said something that they would make a point to say is like a narcissist always blames you or the other person.
No, it's not true.
And then, so like I was running with that, right? And saying, well, they're just reminding you to take full accountability in that you're God and it's just you. That's why everything is your fault. Remember when I said my ex will always blame me for everything? Mm-hmm. Like blame me for everything, and then now I'm like, oh, that's what that relationship was teaching me, like that. Yeah, everything is me. Like everything is my fault because it's just me here. Like it was teaching me to take accountability. That's what that relationship was teaching me.
Yeah.
Like 100%. Instead of like how we were talking about before, like, oh, you only want to take 90% accountability.
Yeah. He was like, yeah. And I'm like, I ain't.
Right, because I was like, I feel like you played a role in this too, so you gotta take your accountability.
Take two to tango.
But two people can take 100% accountability.
Mm-hmm. Well, the part of the accountability, which is interesting, but part of the accountability when you're around another person is just the fact, even if you didn't do anything, it's just the fact that you were there to receive it. Like, that's it. Like, hey, I was in the position to receive this outcome. So that's the part I have to be accountable for. Because if I was somewhere else, that shit wouldn't happen. Take two. It always take two. It's a combination. At least two, I should say. Yeah, I think that narcissists in general actually do respect boundaries. And I know that the word is being used incorrectly and connotatively. Because the word specifically refers to self-love. It even talks about Krishna in Buddhism, loving himself, looking in the mirror. I thought I was supposed to swipe.
To go back?
There it is.
That's interesting.
Why is that interesting?
I'm just, learning something new about that word. Like, I always looked at it negatively.
Well,
it's like, so why should it be negative that somebody has self-love? And that's what we've been talking about. Like, people talk about, you gotta love yourself, you gotta love yourself, you gotta know yourself and love yourself.
Mm-hmm. Now you're thinking, them gears turning. Keep going. Keep going.
So that's what a narcissist is doing.
Aha.
They're loving themselves.
Aha.
And if you love yourself, you definitely gonna have boundaries up.
Uh-huh.
And Elliot definitely have boundaries with me. Like, hold on, woman, you're not about to do that. Like, what is going on?
Uh-huh.
So maybe he even would have an internal battle. Like, okay, dang, like, how, like, I got these boundaries with her. She's crossing them. I'm forgiving her, but how much of forgiveness do I give her before I say, you know what, like,
the boundary don't exist. At a certain point, the boundary doesn't even exist
exactly.
anymore.
So, but what is that? What is that point? I guess that's individual. That's up to you.
I mean, yeah, of course.
Yeah, like somebody might be like, oh, immediately, like you crossed it once after talking about it's over with.
So I'm saying, so that would also mean that it's self-hate at a certain point. It could turn from self-love to, all right, the boundaries keep getting crossed. Now it's just self-hate because at a certain point, if somebody's crossing your boundaries and you already got them set, and you keep letting that person do it, you're not really loving yourself.
Right.
Self-hate at a certain point.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You got self-love. You're gonna establish the boundaries. Stay firm to them. Stick to them. But you get to always tell when you're dealing with a person how they feel about themselves as well. Because if they crossing your boundaries over and over and over, they also don't love themselves. Mm-hmm. If you're crossing somebody else's boundaries over and over and over, you don't love yourself. If you're allowing them, God, as I said before, God is in the allowing state. That's 100% true. And yet, if you're allowing yourself to be hurt over and over and over, you don't love yourself. You can't. Because that relationship, exactly. You'd be abusing yourself or allowing the abuse. If you didn't want the abuse, you just wouldn't be around that person.
Right.
So there's a consistent or constant that happened between my ex and I. And when I met her, or when she came back to the tropics, she said that when she sits alone with herself, she hates herself, she hates how she feels. And I was like, that's not a reflection of me because I sure don't feel the same way. And I know that it never changed. Like it got masked. There were layers put on it.
Yeah.
But that character, my ex, she still hate herself. That shit ain't changed. If it changed, she would have been way different, act totally different. Them remnants wouldn't be there. I used to tell her, I used to say, if you really love somebody, there are certain things that you would never do. Like, ever.
Right.
There's certain boundaries you wouldn't cross. And there's certain things that you wouldn't do ever, ever, ever. Like, no matter how mad you got, no matter what they did, you're just not gonna do certain things. Like, it's just, that shit's there. You might do it to somebody else, but you wouldn't do it to the person that you love. That should always exist. She don't have that, and my ex didn't have that filter. She didn't have that filter. So being around her and being in a relationship with her is dangerous. Because she don't love people. She don't love herself, excuse me. So being with that character, I had to battle self-love and self-hate. It was literally just I had a love-hate relationship with myself. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm loving me. The other person not loving them. So because they don't love themselves, and I used to tell her this too, I'm like, yo, you focusing so much on me and trying to be me because you don't love yourself. That's why you so focused on me. Mm. And I be saying things objectively, saying stuff that she needed to hear and tell herself, and that would kind of help, but most of her attention was centered on me and trying to love me instead of trying to love herself. Even right now, she telling me how much she loved Sela. But it ain't about herself. She don't love herself. That's why she's not on the frequency. Same thing Velvet said about ex not on the frequency. She's not on it. She hate herself. She practicing self-hate. She'll never be able to fit in. And so that means when she around other people, it's gonna be the same thing. She's just gonna be giving self-hate. They're not gonna be real. They're not gonna be authentic. It's gonna be self-hate. Usually when I'm listening to those hills of it, yelling, cussing, screaming, don't never be at peace. Don't never just be happy. It's always some kind of frustration. Same thing with the other friend, Alyssa, that I was talking about. Alyssa came over here and it was, I hate this, I hate that, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, this is a bunch of bitter ass, hating ass women. Beautiful or not, they mind ain't in a good spot. So it doesn't even fucking matter. You know? And the one talking that used to come over here talking about they hate this and hate that and they mad about this and they mad about that. She talking about going to the psych ward. She probably already there. I have yet to see somebody go to the psych ward or hear about somebody going to the psych ward that wasn't a hateful ass person. Something to think about. I have yet to see it. Like when old dude was here, he was talking about he was at the psych ward. He was doing some fucked up shit when he was here.
Who was old dude?
Old dude. I ain't gonna say it on camera, but old dude was here. And he was talking about going to the psych ward and how he recommended it to other people. And I'm like, man, that man was doing some fucked up shit. Scorpio moon. You get it? I'm hitting that.
Yep, I know you're talking about now.
He was doing fucked up shit, yo. What he was doing was actually really fucked up. Yeah, it's gonna be. I want to title this video. The difference between. What did I say? Forgiveness and unhealthy boundaries. You know, self. The difference between narcissism and self-hate. Because if narcissism is self-love, then whatever the opposite of that is self-hate, which is loathing. If I recall correctly. Can you pull that up? Loathing. Loathi. Well, Loathe. It's loathe. Because I think I remember pulling that up one day. So in order to get to the narcissism point, you have to be self-loathing.
Be hateful or displeasing.
Yep. Hold on.
Be evil.
Read the whole thing. Loathe, which type of speech it is.
Old English.
What year?
It doesn't have one.
Okay, keep going. Read loud.
Loathe, verb, Old English. Be hateful or displeasing. Be evil or hateful. Disgust. To hate. To be disgusted with.
Got a lot of them.
Me. I am disgusted with it.
So the opposite of self-love is self-loathing, which is self-hate.
Yeah.
What else is it?
Hostile. Adjective.
Loathe. What does it say? Hate it.
hated, hateful, hostile, repulsive. Yeah. Sorrowsome, hateful, offensive, grievous. What?
Oh yeah, she saw. Wait, we say saw some. She saw four.
Yeah, I thought that's what it said. Excuse me. Hateful, offensive, grievous, painful. Damn.
Yeah, that's the opposite of a narcissism. Mm-hmm. There's a movie called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Fear
and loathing
and hate. And hate.
in Las
Fear
Vegas.
and hate in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm. Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's a movie. I remember Currency, the rapper, came up with a mixtape called Fear and Loathing in New Orleans, I think it was. It says, for another reason for meaning for loathing, it says, weakened meaning, averse, disinclined. Loathing, it says abhorring, revulsion, hatred. Yeah. So now you know. The opposite of narcissism is
Self-loathing. Self-love.
is what?
Self-loathing.
Yeah, self-loathing. Yeah, loathing. Just loathing.
Loading.
Loathing.
Loathing.
Yeah. Or being a loath.
Yeah, because that means
Hateful.
hate,
Mm-hmm.
disgust, repulsive, grievous.
Mm-hmm.
Well, them words be sharp.
I'm on point. I got a whole lot of them here. I'm on point. I do a lot of studying and reading, yo. So yeah, the loathsome person would be the one who didn't have the healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can forgive, but at a certain point, you're like, all right, now I self-hate because this person just keep crossing them and I'm just allowing it to happen. I said, yo, carbonation, them jokers practicing self-hate, talking about self-love, but when you see what they're going through, especially at the past few months, not now, of course, because they ain't all broke apart, but there was a certain point earlier this year where it was just hate shit. We just hate. Evil. Quote unquote, simulations or not, it's what they put in. I think you said it too. You said, if they doing all of this slapping and cussing each other out and doing this shit, ain't they putting fucked up shit in my eyeballs? I said, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Self-hate, putting self-hate in your eyeballs, yep.
And
that's
then
him right there.
being self-righteous, saying, "Oh, this is so we can pull people in, so they because people don't want to hear the knowledge; they just want to see drama." Well, I'm curious about that. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. But with that said, y'all, love myself, peace and love. Holla at you.